Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturian Society.
Welcome, everybody,
Yeah,
to episode 24,
yeah,
25, something like that.
24, I think.
24, I think. Yeah. Of the Scripturian Society. That is your host, Carissa Harlow, aka Lewis, and I am Ash O'Rourke, aka Tolkien. Welcome back. If you have been here before, none of this is a surprise to you. If you are new, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I think this is going to be a very relatable episode for everyone who's ever written a book or thought about writing a book or watched a movie or TV. So we're really expanding our target audience this episode.
Yeah, I figure it's more of a fun topic with like advice sprinkled in, as opposed to advice with some fun sprinkled in.
Yeah, that does tend to be our thing.
Yeah,
yeah. But before we get into that, how's your week been?
it's good. I had my wisdom teeth consultation or whatever, so they're set to be out first or second week of March, somewhere in there. So that's fun.
Super fun.
Yeah. And then I've been watching the Olympics as per usual. When the Olympics exist. Also, I was thinking about this. If you guys are ever struggling to come up with character names, two things to do. One, go to cemeteries. Two, watch the Olympics, because they have the best names in these two places.
I know. Those are extremely opposite pieces of advice for people,
but they work.
No, it's very smart. That's a very good piece of advice.
So I've been like writing down all the names from like Olympians from, like the Nordic countries and the Asian countries that like you never hear those names because they're unique names.
Very smart. Interesting. Yeah. And those could be very common names in those countries, and you never know.
Exactly.
Very smart. Look at you.
Already giving you advice.
It's true. Already.
But yeah, that was my week. No, that's pretty much been it. Yeah.
Nice. Well, it's like a day later than usual when we're recording because you had your wisdom tooth consultation. And I found out yesterday that we keep trying to pin down like a closing date for this house that we've been trying to buy, this property. And of course, just everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
Ugh.
So now we are going to be here for like another month, I think, which is like, okay. But here's the thing is I really want to build my office.
Yeah.
And I'll finally, there's two guest rooms, but honestly, one of them is very small. So I'm like, I think it's just going to be my office. It's fine because we're planning to build a little like guest house on the property anyways. So it's not the end of the world if we don't have both rooms,
Right.
So, and also there's literally, it's very tiny. I think the house on the property is actually the size of our apartment now, but it feels smaller because it has two guest rooms.
Right.
So it's teeny, which is totally fine. But basically I had to just decide I'm going to use one of these rooms as an office, which was first, scary to be like, oh my God, I'm going to take over a whole room for myself. What if that's selfish and I want to use that space for like guests or something, or, God forbid, a human child in the future. But now I'm getting excited about it. And I have plans for like how I want to finally set up my office, and I can finally I can get a bunch of bookcases. I can have a big desk. I can have a wall to put my sticky notes on so that I don't touch them with my hand. We were just talking about this, and if anyone else experiences this, I want you to reach out and let me know that I'm not alone here. But Chris was saying that it's so satisfying to finish like, filling out the end of a sticky note. And I was like, oh, well, where do you put your sticky notes? Because I totally get that feeling. And she's just like, on my desk. And I was like, see, this is a problem for me.
Can't do that.
Can't do that because I hate the feeling of paper on my skin. It's like that weird dry. I don't like the sound of pencils on paper either. And for me, I get the same reaction to all of it. So I also love sticky notes and I have to use them. I have to use paper, but like when they're on my desk, I keep accidentally brushing my hands into them, and it is so upsetting. So I can only stick a couple on like my monitor because they're kind of hanging up off the desk and I won't hit them very often. But there's only room for like 3 and I'm looking at them over there right now. Like I can't, that's it. So I'm going to finally have a wall and I can put sticky notes up on the wall and not brush into them with my hands all the time. Hopefully never. But anyway, so I'm very excited for that.
I mean, okay, I don't feel that way about paper. I do feel that way about velvet, So I really hate velvet.
Yeah, I've heard that. Some people really hate it.
Yeah.
I have very mixed feelings. There's one kind of velvet I hate. I hate it. I don't mind, especially if my nails touch it. There's this other kind that's definitely like fake velvet and it's not real and it's so thin. It's almost just like soft fabric. And I have a dress that someone gave me that's made out of it. And for some reason, it doesn't bother me at all. But for some reason, that like when you can feel it under your nails, velvet.
Yeah.
I just
don't like the sound of velvet on velvet. I don't like.
No, that's bad.
It kills me.
Ew, why did you talk about it?
I know. You talked about paper. Oh, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother anybody else because, I hate it. And I hate the sound of pencil on paper. That was a big problem for me growing up. So I could only use pens.
Yeah. How did you survive school?
Well, I got in a lot of trouble. My parents finally bought me the erasable pens, which by the way, they don't write very well because it's erasable ink.
Yeah.
But I did have to do that a lot because I can, it's better with mechanical pencils. So I can use mechanical pencils and I still do, but oh my God.
Wow.
It was really, really hard for a while. I still don't like it, but it was like really hard for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, fun facts.
Yeah. Fun facts. Ash is completely neurotic. Does anyone else hate these sounds? My family thinks it's part of my misophonia because I also cannot stand the sound of people chewing.
Yep.
It drives me crazy.
I know. Like sometimes in college I would be chewing and you would like leave the room and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong?
It's not your fault at all. I could always hear you chewing chips, which is also the only way to eat chips.
Right.
So it's never anyone's fault. And the thing is, I would always, because it makes me physically distressed. And so I look and feel distressed. So people think I'm angry at them. And this has always been a problem with my siblings because they're like, oh my God, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling because I'm upset, but it's not at anybody. I know people have to chew their food.
Like, I know this is irrational. I just also can't stand it.
I also literally cannot control it. So yeah, I used to leave the room. I think I've gotten a lot better about a lot of it. Like, I think I've just like toned down the anxiety, but now if I am overstimulated or having a hard day, I'll still leave the room. It's not as often now. It used to be pretty constant. Like, luckily the last like 2 years or so, I rarely have to leave the room.
That's good.
Yeah. But I always feel like such a jerk because I know it makes people feel bad. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do.
Once you explained it to me, I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's
nothing personal. It's not even anything judgy. It's literally just that my brain is broken when it comes to sounds. It's way oversensitive and I hear everything. So that's also, I think I just have very sensitive hearing, which is part of the problem. Like, I can hear the fridge. Like, I think it sounds like it's screeching. Javi can't even hear it at all because it's doing that like rattling, squeaky noise. And it's so loud. And this gets me in trouble when I'm editing our audio too, because I will spend like an hour and a half, like trying to get rid of some tiny background noise. Then of course I can't get rid of it. And then I have someone else listen and they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, cool.
Great. Spend all that time on
an hour and a half on this and nobody but me can hear it. But I also can't really differentiate sounds, which gets me in trouble with Javi, because if he's talking to me from the other room, even though normally I'd be able to hear that very clearly, but the dishwasher is going, I can't figure out which sound is which. I hear them both at the same volume. So I'm like, this is like if someone was like trying to like two people are screaming at you at the same time. And you're like, this isn't going to get us anywhere. Yeah. Anyways, that's my life with misophonia.
Yeah. Hooray. Yeah, you were talking about your office. So you're excited about that.
I'm very excited about it. And if the fridge screeches, I'll be able to close the door. Like I'll be able to close the door. I won't have to touch paper. My desk is one of those counters that comes off the edge of the kitchen thing. So, and there's no like alcove. It's literally just into the middle of the apartment. So I don't have anywhere to like put anything. I can't even like put like shelves near my desk because there's no wall to put the shelves against. So my workspace is quite limited right now. And now for an extra month, it's going to be limited, but that's okay because
it'll give you time to plan.
Yes. And I also have been very emotional. And so I saw a video of ducklings today and I did start to cry because I was like, I can have ducklings soon.
Oh my gosh.
I have been very emotional. There was some commercial during the Super Bowl that I was like, that Javi and I were watching. And I even thinking back, I'm like, in no way do I have any emotional connection to the topic of that commercial. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm way too hormonal for this. I'm going to start crying. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I can't control this feeling.
Yeah, I constantly cry at car commercials. And I don't know why. I don't have a child that is leaving the house. I don't have like a dog that is aging. There is no reason for me to cry, but I do.
Yep. Same. I don't even, this was like some weird thing. It was like athletes or something, like some kind of inspiring athletic thing. And I was like, in no way do I identify as an athlete. In no way do I. And I have no aspirational dreams in any athletic area of life. So I have no idea why I was like, I'm going to start crying right now. And also, I love ducklings and I love chickens. Am I obsessed with them? No. So I'm like, I'm not sure why that made me burst into tears, but there it is.
Something about it.
Yeah,
that's
Javi's
cool.
the duck guy. Javi really wants ducks, and I think it's funny because he's never had like farm animals, and we're gonna finally have farm animals again. And I'm just so excited. So
nice. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, you can come say hi to the chickens and the ducks.
Yeah. Anyway, what else?
Yeah, anyways, I think that's it. Oh, I found out that our roller rink is moving adult skate night. It used to be on Thursdays. Now I think it's going to be on Tuesdays, which means you and I are going to have to reschedule our normal recording for like today, like Wednesdays, if that's okay. Starting Sounds in March, apparently. I didn't know. And I don't, in no way does this inhibit anything in my life, but I'm upset that my routine has been upset.
Right. Oh my gosh. Story of my life. I'll get upset at the smallest things because it literally postpones by 2 seconds something that I was planning to do.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah. I do that all the time. It's never anything important. I'm rarely upset about important things. I am often very agitated. I'm just agitated by like little things that interrupt what I had planned to do. Like if I'm like, I'm going to do the dishes and then clean the cat litter and then take a shower. But then for some reason, like maybe I have to go somewhere, so I have to take a shower first or something. I'm like, this is not how I planned my day.
Right? This is the worst inconvenience of all time.
Exactly. It is so weird. Maybe this is a writer thing. I don't know. Like we have a very specific idea in our heads. Like I envision how my day is going to go in so much detail because that's just how I think about everything. So then when it's disrupted, I'm like, this doesn't compute. This is
right.
I already created reality perfectly in my head. Why is
it
reality
needs to live up to the image in my head?
I realized I have to like intentionally, like if I'm going to go to the doctor or something, or go do something that I don't want to do or that I'm anxious about, I realized I have to like explicitly tell myself no expectations, because even like the most basic expectations, like what the lobby will look like, my brain invents it automatically. So then if I walk in and the lobby doesn't look like what my brain that has never been there or seen any pictures imagined it would look like, I'm just thrown. So I have to like very intentionally be like, Ash, zero expectations.
You are not to visualize this in any detail.
Not going to use our imagination here at all.
Gosh, that's so hard.
It is. It really is. Yeah. God, I still sound so neurotic, but you guys have no idea how much I've grown. I'm really like
this is an improvement.
This is an extreme improvement for me. I have no idea. I don't know how I had friends in college looking back. I'm so glad I didn't chase you away with my neuroses.
I had nowhere else to go. So, you just waited me out.
Oh, that's funny. Anything else you want to share from this week?
No, that's it for me.
Sweet. Well, do you have any book recommendations?
Also, no, because I'm still in writing mode. I think I'm coming out of writing mode. So hopefully next week I will have
more book
probably several, but not right now.
You are so all or nothing. I think I'm a hot and cold type of person, but then in comparison to you, I am not.
Yeah. I mean, it's not very conducive to function in society, so you're lucky about that, but
don't worry. I have a bunch of other obstructions to my functioning in society. So
it's true, like the chewing thing.
Like the chewing thing. It all evens out, and then not being able to touch paper.
Oh, fair enough.
Rough. Yeah.
What about you? What did you read?
Well, you know what? I have a book rec that I think you're also going to back up, because this week on That Pretentious Book Club, we're going to be covering Sisters Grimm.
Oh my gosh, yay, I'm so excited.
I know, this was another Carissa recommendation. It is a darling little middle grade series, and I read the first one. They're fairy tale detectives, and it was so cute. I read it all in one day, so I'm already done with my reading for the week. But Chris is going to join us on that episode. So.
Yeah, I'm so excited. The series is so great for so many reasons, but one of them is that you can read them in like one sitting because they're middle grade and short.
Yeah,
so
it is so nice. Lately, we've accidentally picked a couple books in a row that are like you can read in one sitting. And oh my God, it's been so nice.
Yeah.
Because also I remember it way better if I read it all in one sitting. If I keep picking it up and putting it down, I just forget things. And then it's hard when it's my episode to recap. And because I usually recap the contemporary book. So this one I was like, oh, I got this. And then also, even if I didn't, you're going to be there. So
yes. Gosh, I'm so excited.
This is a series Chris has been trying to get me to read since college. And it is, it's so cute. I felt like Percy Jackson flashbacks a little bit with it. Yeah.
It's so good. It played such a large role in my childhood. So I'm glad you liked it.
See, there's always those books. That's so fun. That was obviously Percy Jackson for me. But I think if I had read Sisters Grimm, I think that would have been it for me also. So it's good. If you guys want like a fun middle grade flashback, then you guys can join That Pretentious Book Club for our Sisters Grimm episode coming up. But that's my book rec this week, which is again credit. It's another Carissa book rec.
You're welcome. This is the one thing I'm good at. It's not conducive to socializing or functioning in society, but here we are.
You know what? Who cares? We don't need those things.
It's true.
Well, what's our word of the week?
All right. Our word of the week is Coruscate. Coruscate, and it means to flash or sparkle.
Okay, see, I would actually have heard this word before, but did not know what it meant. To flash or sparkle.
Yep.
It's Coruscate?
Yeah, Coruscate.
Coruscate.
Yeah.
Cute.
I do feel like I see this around, but I never really knew what it meant. So.
I've never known what it meant. It's like, it's not common. Yeah. You could say that my personality coruscates.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "You, please stop."
I was thinking of the TikTok filter that makes things randomly sparkle around you.
It makes things coruscate. Oh yes, the coruscate filter.
Yeah, the coruscation filter. I don't know if that's a word.
Coruscation. Oh, I like it. I like when we take existing words and make them even better.
I agree.
Shakespeare's like applause from his grave, wherever that is. I'm just kidding. We know where his grave is, but I don't believe that he's in it. So, anyways.
Interesting.
Well,
I do remember this, but I haven't thought about that in a long time.
I'm not just being totally baseless here. At least his skull is missing, apparently.
That's right.
I don't think it's fake news. I remember in college I read an article about it, and they like scanned the grave. So either their scanner thing was malfunctioning, or if it wasn't, then the skull is missing. So part of him is not in that grave. Or maybe this was just a rumor, but this was an art. I mean, it was I read it.
I heard that.
So,
I've heard that. It's just it's the kind of thing that I never think about, and then someone brings it up, and it just throws me again.
You're like, oh wow, that is crazy. If that happened, So, anyways, I'm gonna choose to stick with it because I like conspiracy theories, and also that was a real article I read. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it these days. I don't keep track of Shakespeare's skull. So
what's the news on the
500-year
dead writer?
Yeah. What's the haps with Shakespeare's body, huh? Anyone? Yeah. DM us if you know. They're like, I'm looking at his skull right now. My family member dug it up hundreds of years ago, and it has been passed down secretly from generation to generation.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking like a grave robber, like someone is like just listening to us as they happen to be digging up his grave.
Ooh, seems like I'm glad we can keep you company on your weird nighttime quest, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, don't steal, but hey.
Don't steal, but I guess if you're going to steal from the dead.
Yeah.
I was going to say I take that back, but I don't think I do. I feel like that's understandable.
It's not great, but it's better.
It's not great, but it's better.
Yeah.
That's like this is my like life slogan. It's not great, but it's better.
Fun. Anyway, Coruscate.
Yeah. Coruscate. That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we get into the theme for this episode?
Yes. So we are going to be talking about book to movie / book to book to TV show adaptations.
I thought you were going to say book to VHS adaptations.
That too. How old are we?
I know. Do we have any listeners who don't know what a VHS tape is?
Yeah. How old are you guys?
Yeah. How old are y'all? All y'all.
Oh, y'all.
All y'all.
But yeah, so I know this isn't like a super writery topic, but I feel like it's something we can all relate to because
we all think about for sure.
Yeah, have we not all thought about our books being made into?
This is something that we all think about in the same way that we all think about if I was being interviewed about my book on the Ellen DeGeneres show. What would I say? Yeah,
I get interviewed by Ellen a lot in my head, even though she's not doing that anymore.
Even though that's not even possible now. It'll be the next Ellen. It'll be the new Ellen.
Yeah. The new Ellen. Anyway. So I don't know. I might have a slightly controversial opinion about this, which seems to be the theme of my life.
Controversy.
Yeah. Because I think there are way too many book to movie / book to TV show adaptations. That is really hard
VHS adaptations.
There are too many book to VHS adaptations is the problem with the world.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All our problems would be solved without them.
Solve the world problems. Stop adapting things to VHS. Everyone's like, yeah, we did.
Yeah. They're like, there are still problems. It's because you didn't do enough of it. Some people are still
burn the VHS tapes. This is where it all started.
Yeah. Anyway,
just kidding. I have like 20 Veggie Tales on VHS that I do plan to keep.
Love it. So I've been watching the Olympics, right? And I just don't watch a lot of live TV. And so I've been seeing all of the trailers for upcoming movies coming out. And I kid you not, I think all of them are either remakes or book to movie things.
Yeah.
Okay. They're doing Death on the Nile. Yeah, Death on the Nile. They have a Bel Air remake coming out. They have Cyrano. They have a West Side Story. They have, I made a list. What else is there? There's a Chip and Dale coming out, which is not a book to movie, but it's a remake. There's like Sonic the Hedgehog, which is also not a book, but it was a video game.
Oh, right? Yes, that's right. I remember they released the pre-screening or whatever, and it bombed. So they had to go back to square one with it or something.
Yep. And so I'm just like, gosh, is the problem that Hollywood doesn't have any good ideas anymore? Because that seems like what it is, which is very frustrating to me because, as writers, you take so much time to make your own stories, and then you just see other people getting richer and more famous off the copying what stories. Other people have done. Yeah. Which is very frustrating. And it's not theft because I know they pay the authors to get permission to do this, but it still feels like theft because it's not your idea.
Yeah.
And go on.
I was gonna say the thing with book to movie adaptations, I mean, I do prefer them over all of the constant remakes that we're getting. Enough with the remakes, please. Or if we're gonna remake something, let's remake something that needs to be remade, not something that was fine to begin with.
Yes.
But the thing with book to movie adaptations, I would agree that there's too many, but I think the reason I'm saying that is because there's too many where the author was not involved in the process. Yeah. I think if the author is intimately involved in the process, then it could be great, assuming it's a book that's really adaptable to TV. I think some stories are just difficult to adapt. This is not a book thing, but why did we take some of the animated Disney movies and turn those into live action? Why did we pick those ones when we could have picked Atlantis or what's the Treasure Planet, which these would have been excellent made.
It would have been cinematically amazing. Yes.
And they were like, we are going to make the safari animals talk in live action. And it was that's literally conducive. What cartoons are for. Why are you doing that? It's so weird. And they're doing it with the Little Mermaid. And I love the Little Mermaid so much, but I'm also
all the animals.
All the animals talk and sing, and they talk and sing underwater. And as an avid mermaid watcher of every mermaid media ever, it has never done well. So I'm not sure how they're going to swing that, but I guess I'm eager to see it. I don't know, only because of the mermaid thing, but otherwise I would not approve of this. But you do have to think about that with books too. Some children's books would be harder to adapt, middle grade books. They're doing a Percy Jackson series. Disney Plus has confirmed it, and I'm excited, but I'm also like
wary.
wary, exactly, because that one is just enough fantastical elements that could be hard to pull off if they're not done well. So it's very tricky, but I think the biggest point is to have the author intimately involved. Shadow and Bone on Netflix, Leigh Bardugo, the author, was super involved. And I would say that's why that series is so good. Even though they made some changes that are not in the books, almost all of them are totally acceptable. I think, in my opinion, that they're totally acceptable because the author who created the stories in the world was so involved. So,
and I think that translates well because I think part of the reason that book to movie and book to TV show, I nailed that, adaptations really suck sometimes is because they only take the plot and they don't translate the theme. And so when they drop the theme, you're left feeling like you wasted your time and like, what was that even for?
Like,
but if the author, if the author is behind it, even if they make changes, they know how to stick to that theme. And they know how to do that, probably because, you know, how many scenes do you write and then don't end up in the series, or that you think about but, you know, aren't conducive to being written. And so the author knows all that. And so they can make sure that it's still in line with their vision, even if it is different.
I think the key is there should only be a movie or TV adaptation of a book if it's going to have something that the book didn't have, but that is still totally in line. So this is where you do need the author, or if it's going to show something that you just can't show in the book, or communicate something that you just can't communicate as well in a book form. However, that's very rare because books have been used forever because they are so excellent at communication. And a lot of it is the writing style. That there are times when you could say, well, this theme would be better expressed on the screen, or this, you know, whatever would be better expressed on the screen. When that's the case, go for it. If the author's like, I have a bunch of stuff that I didn't include, or I have these ideas for stuff I'd like to include, but the book's already done, you can add that stuff in because it is genuinely from that book's universe because it came from the author. But
no, I was absolutely going to say that because I was thinking about some of the best book to movies, and I think Lord of the Rings is up there. I know some like hardcore Tolkien fans don't think so, but I think it's really good.
I think so. I don't know.
And I think Harry Potter, I think Harry 5 and 6 got a little weird, but most of those were great. And so I think really what happened with those is obviously they didn't have Tolkien to work on it. And I don't think Rowling was super involved in the Harry Potters, but what they did was they took the book and then they utilized the movie format in a way that the book couldn't. So they essentially, if you're going to turn something from a book into a TV show or a movie, you need to be doing something with that format that wasn't possible in book form. And, you know, so like when you're writing, obviously there's like internal monologues that just don't translate well to movies, or certain writing styles and the way that things are described. You know, you can't in a movie see the characters through the lens of your main character. That's just not possible. And so you shouldn't try, but you can do things in a movie that you can't do in books, as much as that pains me to say, with, you know, the visual elements. And I do think this is why fantasy works really well on screen, because
if you have a high enough budget,
yes, that is necessary. Yes. But it can work because you get to see things visually, and maybe you get those action scenes a little tighter or whatever. So if you're going to be making it into a movie, it needs to be because there is something in that book that translates well. And so something that's been bothering me is they've been making a lot of like, I guess, YA contemporary romances into movies. And I'm just like, that is so
cringe.
Good in book form. What do you think you're getting out of the movie that you're not getting with the book?
Nothing. In fact, it's less cringy in book form.
Yes.
Because it's like when you hear that a couple has a great relationship and they kiss all the time and hold hands all the time, and you're like, oh, that's cute. But if they're doing that right in front of you, you're just uncomfortable. So that's, I think, where a lot of romance, that's why romance books are so popular. But we don't make movies for the most part that are hardcore romance like that very often, because it's very different. So some stories, like, you want a little bit of distance between yourself and the story to enjoy it.
Yes.
That's definitely, I think for me, the YA like contemporary romances are too, because there's also, you can get so much more out of the book when it comes to that. And it can feel kind of shallow on the screen, or it can feel too intimate. It either is too shallow or too intimate, and it's very hard to nail that correctly.
Sometimes it's both at the same time.
Yes. And so you're like, I feel like that almost always happens with YA contemporaries that are turned into movies and TV shows.
Because half the point of the book is that if it's dual perspective or just one, you're seeing things from their point of view as, you know, the romance is unfolding, or, you know, dark or light as it's happening, you're hearing their thoughts about it. And, you know, that's where the writing comes in. And there's just no interesting way to do that on screen. And so it just ends up being, it feels like a money grab. And like, I know everyone wants to make money, but there's so many books out there that are conducive to being on screen, that have, you know, something to be added to them by having the visual elements and the auditory elements and that kind of stuff. And I don't think YA contemporary is where that is, because it's too good in book form. And not that fantasy isn't good in book form, but there's really nothing to add. I think
with any kind of books that rely a lot on internal dialogue, it's really hard to transfer those to movie or TV, because the whole point is that you're reading the internal dialogue. Unless you have like a voiceover narration going throughout the show. Jane the Virgin did it excellently.
That's
but
true. I was going to say
telenovela. So
yeah. I usually don't like that. Like, they did it a little bit with the Darkest Minds movie, and I was like, I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to pull off well. Jane the Virgin did it because it's a telenovela, and that's the whole bit. Like, that's the whole thing.
And it was, I don't think it was was it originally a book?
Was it? I don't know.
I don't think so. So it came from a natural place in the creation of the story, as opposed to trying to translate one medium to another.
Princess Bride does it well. I think Inkheart does it a little bit, because those are frame stories. So if you're taking a frame story, you can use that, and you can do some of the internal narration that you have in the book that way. But barring frame stories and something like as specific as a telenovela, then it's so hard to do. So if your story relies heavily, and your character development relies heavily on internal dialogue, that transfers. So that's so difficult. That's such a hard transfer to make.
I think the only way to do that well is if you take the book or the movie a completely different direction from the book, which can also work well. So one of my favorite movies for a while was I Am Legend. And apparently that is very different from the book.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. And it like totally changed the theme and everything. And I'm okay with that. From an author point of view, I don't think I'd like it if they did that to my book, but I do think that as a viewer / reader, that can work, because it's different enough that you don't have to associate the two. They don't have to like exist in the same universe in your brain. And so I think that can work if you take it a completely different direction. But so like if you did The Darkest Minds, or a book that was written in first person, instead of doing the inner monologue, or, you know, like where someone is speaking over the story the whole time, you know, take it a different direction, go into all of the different characters, add characters, you know, add subplots and that kind of stuff to make it more its own, as opposed to, you know, just like kind of a cheesy interpretation of the book. Because really the movie should be able to exist on its own without the book. And if it can't, if people are confused while watching, or if they can't understand what would have appealed about the book, it's because the movie's not doing a very good job. So
that's true. I think kind of on the flip side of all this too, as you're reading your book, you just keep thinking, this should be a movie. This should be a movie. Maybe it should be a screenplay. I mean, I think there's a place for having both, but like, just as a reminder to writers, you can write a screenplay. People are writing screenplays all the time. I wish Hollywood cared more about the independent writers writing screenplays, because there's remakes instead of constantly doing remakes. It's because they're sure that that's where the money is. They have a guaranteed payoff with that. But there's so many amazing stories that aren't being told. And so if it can be great in book form and movie form, maybe you want to do both. I'm doing that with one of mine, but I actually think one of the books that I wrote that I think is actually my best literary work ever, I think it's kind of almost the reverse, where if I were to write a screenplay based off it and that were to do well, then the book would do really well. But the book would be a hard sell by itself, which is kind of a reverse thing. But you can kind of feel that out. Like when you're writing it, you'll know. Like you'll feel it if you're like, this would almost be a better movie.
It's true.
That's the only thing I've written that's like that, but I'm still like mid screenplay with that. And the whole process for getting a screenplay scene is very different than marrying and very difficult.
So yeah, I'm sure. I bet that sucks. And
Mm-hmm.
I think about it too, because, you know, as a writer, when I see bad books getting published, it really like hurts me deep down. So I imagine that people who are aspiring screenwriters are really sick of this too. And I
Oh
feel
yeah.
for you. If any of you are listening, I feel for you
Yeah.
because it's really hard to see people that clearly don't care as much as you do about the art
Mm-hmm.
form or the medium
Yep.
essentially getting away with it and getting
Mm-hmm.
all the success when you
If
have
I was a
something.
screenwriter, like avid, like that's what I wanted to do with my life, screenwriter, and seeing all these remakes, I would be so upset. Like I'd
Yeah,
be in such a mood all the time
I
because
agree.
so many of these didn't need to be remade. I'll say the West Side Story remake looks really cool. And I think enough time passed from the original. I feel like that's the bare minimum amount of time that we need to pass because the first movie was really good too. And it looks amazing, but that's one of the few remakes that I've been like, you've added something. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to see the Cyrano one because I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen any of the originals,
Yeah,
but I
I
could
haven't
see why
either.
that
So
would
kind of
be,
same.
yeah, I see why
Yeah.
that would be annoying to people who remember the
Mm-hmm.
originals.
I think stuff that has a lot of cinematic potential. I think people
Mhm.
like to remake whenever they can because we move forward in such leaps and bounds with technology.
Yeah.
So I really feel like that's what it was with West Side Story because the first West Side Story was great. And for when it was made, it was excellent quality. But it's just that we've improved so much since then. It was like, what if we
Mhm.
did this, but with our technology now? So I feel like that's
Right.
another motivation. And I'm
Mhm.
okay with that motivation. I think it's kind of the same with Cyrano as well. I'm kind of
Yeah.
more okay with that motivation instead of we need to make a movie that makes money. What'll we do? We'll remake this one. Even if
Yeah.
it's like, is it
It
something
it's
anyone
just
cares about that much?
right. And it's just like if this were one or two movies coming out every year, it would be
Yeah.
fine. I wouldn't even notice. I would say
Yeah.
that's really cool. I want to see that. But
Yeah, but it's become
because it's
constant.
every movie,
It's
it's
become the
like
norm.
it doesn't feel like you said if you're a producer or writer or whatever and you're sitting and you're reading a book and you're like, wow, I have some really cool ideas about how I could do this on screen. That is
Mm-hmm.
going to translate so much better than sitting in some boardroom saying, okay, what book can we turn into a movie next, which is how
Yep.
it feels like it's going.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah. It did
so
not used to
annoying.
be this many remakes. Everything
Yeah.
is a remake or a
Yeah.
remake of a remake.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that there's nothing new under the sun and people like to use that excuse. And I say that occasionally too, but in a different context. But
Right.
because that is not applicable in the sense of these movies are all the same because these are literally the
Right. They're
same
different.
movies. Because
Right.
yes,
Like
there's
movies in
nothing,
general.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's no brand new theme under the sun. However, I think everyone's can have their own pretty original. I also think there's no exactly the same take on it.
Exactly.
So
Unless
that's
you are literally copying in a
yeah,
remake.
exactly. Unless you are literally copying in a remake. So that there's nothing new under the sun doesn't apply to the idea of should we keep doing remakes or not.
Right.
I wish I mean, it's not entirely unlike the publishing industry where you're like, I wish we would publish some different type of stuff, but instead we're
Yeah.
stuck with these trends.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do a remake of a book, so we do trends in the
Yeah.
publishing industry, which is also annoying because then everyone who's like, but I have a great idea, but it's not,
On
what's
trend.
on trend. And you're like,
Yeah.
and it could be amazingly high quality, the best book ever written, and it's not going to get looked at probably because it's not on trend. So
Yep. It's very annoying. Okay, on like a happier topic, on this topic, a happier subtopic. I was thinking about this the other day because I saw a TikTok about it. Of your many works, do you think they would do better as movies or TV shows?
oh, movies or TV shows.
Yeah, like if you had to pick one, if you
If I had
had
to pick
had
one,
like total control.
if I had total control,
Well, and like for each thing, so like not all of your stuff had to be movies, but like, do you think any of yours are like more conducive to movie or TV?
one of my books specifically, the one that I think is my best literary accomplishment, I think it's equally conducive. And actually,
Mhm.
no, I think it's more conducive to movie. And I think it would be an excellent short series.
Yeah.
I think that's what that one should be because I feel like a movie wouldn't be in depth enough like the book is, and a series
Mhm.
would be too long, so it would drag things out that don't need to be dragged out. And
Right.
and the short series would have to go into some stuff that the book doesn't go into.
Mhm.
But I think it would make an excellent short series. And it's unlike
Yeah.
anything else I've ever written. It's not a fantasy, it's more contemporary. It's a little bit crime thriller-ish, a tiny bit. It's also got some like slice of life and magical realism. It's just weird. I don't know how to categorize it. But I do think it would make it's not entirely unlike the stuff that Reese Witherspoon's been championing lately. So kind of in that realm, but before she was doing that,
right,
was when I wrote it. So I think short series. I'm not copying it, and I haven't actually read those books. I just keep up with her, like with her book club and stuff. So yeah. Cool. But I think that one would be a good short series. Everything else I've written is so fantasy. I don't know. The one I'm working on now could be good to do in like series form, not unlike Shadow and Bone, where where you pull in more stuff because the world is so big. But other than that, I don't think any of my stuff is super conducive to the screen. Yeah. What about you?
So the series I've been working on, it's hard because one of the elements of it is that there's telepathy, and like they use telepathy a lot. So I'm not sure if it would do well on screen at all, unless they totally changed world building things, which would hurt my soul. And so even though I imagine it as a movie, I don't know if I would ever actually want it to be one. My English teacher in high school gave me the advice because she knew I wanted to be a writer. And she said, if anyone ever comes to you and wants to make your book into a movie, do it, make the money, and then never look at it. Like, don't
never look at it.
Don't watch it. Don't get involved. Nothing. Let them do what they want to do and take the money and run. And I was like, I just don't know if I'm capable of letting someone else have that much control over something I worked really hard at, you know? And so I would love to see them as movies, but only if somehow that could be done in a non-cheesy way. And I think they would be better as movies.
I mean, you can do the voiceover telepathy. It's been done. I liked the Host movie. The best that it's been done is in the movie The Host, and I like the book too. That was Stephanie Meyer, right? Can I just say like that I enjoyed that movie like 100 times more than Twilight.
It's good.
And also the story, also it's aliens, but it was so original.
Yeah.
I was all about it. But I actually think like I was totally okay with how they did telepathy in that. Well, it wasn't even telepathy.
It was talking in their heads, right?
Yeah, but it's basically the same thing. So it was basically telepathy, and that I felt like was done well, and that was so largely done not even to the script itself, like the scripting of like the dialogue, but like the way that they filmed it, and there would be pauses and like nothing would be happening in the background, or it'd be like a really close up as they were talking. So you would have to do some like really tricksy stuff with the filming of it, not with the specific dialogue. But you could do it.
It's possible. I guess if someone really cared about doing it well, maybe, but not in the current environment where it's just a moneymaker. But the book I just wrote, right, the standalone, I think it would be really good as a TV series, because I think, did you ever watch Reign?
No.
Okay, so I loved this show, and it was based on Mary, Queen of Scots, and I am sure it took so many liberties.
I've seen the previews.
But it was fun, and I kind of picture this book as like, it could possibly go there in a TV show format. And it's not the kind of thing I would ever write in book form. And someone else out there might, if they liked the world, be able to write stories like that in that world. So it is possible. I think like I have some ideas, but they'll never come around to anything because it's just not the thing that I would feel comfortable writing. But someone else could potentially. And that's also where books and movies feel good, because if someone has a new take on it, or they want to expand, like you were saying, Shadow and Bone, if you want to expand on something in an existing world, Fantastic Beasts is doing that too, where that's really cool, because then you're not necessarily trying to copy or plagiarize. You're just taking inspiration. You're like, this world is really cool, and I have an idea about something that could be done there. And I like that a lot too.
Yeah, I think it's better. And then you don't get anyone saying, well, it wasn't like that in the book, because it wasn't in the book. And so you don't have to have that. Yeah, that's the whole idea. But I do think if you're going to do a what's in the book is in the movie type adaptation, I think I wish people, I don't know why this is not a more common thing, but the whole point of writing is words, and you're using words in specific ways. And why are we not just pulling specific lines from specific scenes to keep including? Because that's the whole point, is that that specific conglomeration of words is what made an impact. Why are we not just moving those over to the movie and still using them?
I know they try to do new things sometimes. It's like, if you want totally different interpretation, I Am Legend style, go for it. If you're trying to go for the book don't make your own
Don't
stuff
do
up. It's
that.
right
Yeah.
there. It already exists. All you need to do is special effects.
Exactly. This is also where Shadow and Bone did this so excellently, because they pulled in the cast from Six of
Right.
Crows, but it's before that story took place. So all of that, none of us can get mad that it's not like the book, because it's their whole story. We don't have a book about that time in their life. So whatever wants to happen can happen. And then this is also kind of a distraction. So if there were little inaccuracies here and there with the Shadow and Bone story, we're not paying as close of attention as if that was the only thing we were focusing on. And also, they do include some lines that are straight out of the book. And I love it. So they did all of the things right as far as I'm concerned. It's people will still get mad. People will always be mad about adaptations a little bit. But I don't care. I think this is the best adaptation that I've seen.
Yeah. I think people say a lot that when they want a book to be on the screen, they want it to be like a carbon copy. Right? They want it directly translated. And I don't think this is actually what we want, because we all have way too many. We're all thinking about it differently. We have different pictures of the setting, different images of the characters. They sound differently to all of us. And so there's no way for everyone, even most people, to be happy with a direct translation, which is why I think it's good to take inspiration from or go with the author giving you extra stories in the world, because otherwise you can't make people happy. We say we want that, but I don't think we
don't
do.
want that. We want the same themes. We want some of the same language. We want the same characters.
We want the same vibe.
We want the same vibe. Really, we really want the same vibe. It's very much what it is. I think, and again, I'm going to keep fangirling over Shadow and Bone just because they're such a good example of how to do this right. Because you can tell that they're listening to the readers also, which never happens. Because I've been seeing everybody like going crazy on social media about who are they going to cast for these other characters in season 2 that come into the story.
Right.
Like Wylan is one of them. And so I really feel like they're paying attention to what people want out of Wylan. Like people like to fangirl over him as this, like, he's cute, he's boyish, he's smart, he's kind of wild. Like not like wild looking, kind of like just like wild and a little rumpled in appearance. And of course, the person that they finally announced that they cast is, I think we all collectively went, that's him, because they listened to all the things we all had in common. Because like you said, we're all going to have very different ideas about what each character looks like. But there's going to be a couple things that we all agree that character is like. And if they're not paying attention to the readers who made that story famous enough to adapt it, then they're going to miss out on those like 4 or 5 things that we're all like,
everyone got.
Yeah. So we're all going to be mad if they're not there.
Right.
So Shadow and Bone did really great with that. I think they did great with Nikolai too. I'm confused by their casting of Mal because of the hair. Okay. Mal.
I haven't seen it.
I don't remember the actor's name. He did excellent with the acting of it, actually. Very much Mal. He's got the moody mouthing down. I shouldn't say the casting. I was confused by the hair and makeup choice. I was confused they made his hair that short. I feel like it didn't have to be that short, but it does very much identify him as, it's a thing I can get. Basically, it was an appearance thing. So a lot of us were surprised, but you can play with that if it's not like an iconic part of the character. And they did. Yeah. And I had to get over it, but I still think it's one of the best adaptations. So they played with little stuff here and there, but they kept all the big stuff for each character. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sweet spot. I feel like Lord of the Rings was that, because I don't know if Tolkien would be happy with it, but I am, because, you know, so Aragorn in the book is supposed to be an epic hero. He has no flaws, but they took it and they said, that's not realistic. We want him to be relatable. So they gave him kind of like this, you know, I don't even know how to describe him. Just like this.
He's secretly a romantic, which makes him weak.
Yeah. And so he has this depth to him that maybe book Aragorn didn't, and they changed up, you know,
I agree,
scenes. And so I think they took it and they took the vibe and they took the theme and they just changed it to work better in like the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, they changed him from an epic hero to a romantic hero.
Yes.
So he's still of equal importance, but for most of us, the epic hero, like Odysseus, is not a relatable figure, but a romantic hero is more relatable. So they took and they made him the same importance. He's still a hero. They just tweaked it a little bit, which you can do. I'm all for tweaking things to make it more movie adaptable, or to make it more like what people want to see and relate to. But like they added a little more of that and more of that romance, which was great, because then we got to see females in the story, which they were obviously like people are going to want to see girls. Now in The Hobbit, do I think they should have added it? A character who was not in any way, shape,
totally
or form
new character.
totally
right.
new. That was going a little too far in my opinion. Still a great movie. But that was, I feel like, going too far. But I know why they did it. It's because there's no girls in the adventure at all.
Yeah. And like, so that was part of what Tolkien wanted to do, right? His whole thing was he wanted to write about male friendship and how important that was to him in his life. And that's great. And I think the books do a great job of getting that across. But if you go movie, maybe that's your opportunity to expand it out a little bit more and still keep that theme and still
so the theme is
vibe.
Friendship. The theme is enduring friendship, but maybe it's not only specifically male friendship.
Right.
Yeah, so you can expand a little bit. I like the way they expanded it in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I don't love the way they expanded it in The Hobbit. But I respect the attempt.
I see what you were going for.
I see what you were going for. Also, it was Evangeline Lilly, I think, and I love her. Great. So I was like, they knew it. They knew that we all love her too much to get really mad. So
true.
Well, as a girl, probably.
She looks like my cousin, or I guess my cousin looks like her. And so, but my cousin is blonde. And so every time I see her, Evangeline Lilly, I'm always like, why do you feel so familiar? And it's because she looks like my cousin Grace.
That's so interesting.
Yep. They have a bone structure or something.
In Lost, when her hair was like really curly and long, that's what I always wanted to look like. It felt achievable to me. And she's very, very skinny, but like we were all told that we had to be very skinny to be beautiful.
Even just like in her face, just everything. She's great.
She's gorgeous. But back
she's
then,
a good actor.
And she's a great actress.
Yeah.
And back then I would see her and be like, that's achievable. I can do that. Also, very few actors and actresses leave their hair curly if it's naturally curly. Most people straighten it because I think it's easier take to take, but they didn't do that with her. And so I was like, oh, yes, thank you. So anyways, that's why I'm dedicated to her. It was also why it was really weird to see her with the really straight, like elven hair. I was like, that's not your thing at all.
You look different.
You look so different. But I think probably also more guys were upset about that than girls were. Because they already had plenty of representation in the Tolkien universe. Thank you. Sit down. You're fine.
Yeah. But where was I talking about before that?
I'm sorry. I went all Evangeline Lilly.
I went Lord of the Rings, so I baited you.
Of course I was going to talk about Evangeline Lilly.
This is something we've literally never discussed before. There's no way I could have done that.
It's true. I think, and I actually don't obsess over Evangeline Lilly. That makes it sound like I'm like a huge fan. I just like her and I know her name, which is, I know very few celebrities, so it's notable. But I think to go slightly off of that, to segue off that a little bit, I think adding entirely new characters is generally a very bad idea. So. Yeah. Shadow and Bone, they didn't do it. They might have pulled in a cast from a different series in the same universe.
Exactly.
But they did not create new characters because we do not do that. Do not do that. It's so upsetting.
It is generally weird.
No, they don't fit. It's like they just don't fit. It's a puzzle piece from a different puzzle.
Yeah, they weren't created by the same person. Of course they don't fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're going to make a book to movie and you're like, we would need more characters, why don't you just pick a book that already has more characters?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're like, this would be great for a movie except XYZ, then it wouldn't be great for a movie. Then it's better as a book, and that's fine. Do not change the source material to, you can slightly alter things in the source material to make it movie adaptable. Do not add things to the source material to make it adaptable. If you have to add something to make it a movie or a show, don't do it. Pick something else. There are plenty. Go talk to that poor little screenwriter who's just been writing their heart out. Like,
poor thing.
These people exist.
Yeah. Or
so many stories.
Yeah. At least take, oh man, I had a point.
Source material.
Yep. It was about that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, I thought of it. Okay. Or at least if you find something in book form really inspiring and really good, you don't have to remake it. You can just jump off and write your own story with similar elements that go the direction you want it to go. Yeah. So you can take, let's, pick Shadow and Bone, I guess. if you're like, wow, I love these things about it, but I would have added this and this and this, then just create your own world that was kind of inspired by it. And then, I mean, obviously you need to make it different enough to be unique, but then change those things because it's now your own world.
Yeah. I mean, okay, look at, not to say I'm a proponent of 50 Shades of Grey, because I'm not, but this is a great example of that. The author was like, I see things in Stephenie Meyer's work in Twilight that I really, really like, but I want to change a couple things here and there. But then, of course, to make it publishable, you really have to change. You have to make it completely different. Right. But the inspiration was very much there. Like you can see where the inspiration came from. It's still notable. You can still find the connection, but she wrote her own thing and then it became a movie. And she definitely did exactly what Chris is talking about. So it can be done. Do I love 50 Shades of Grey personally? No. Do I think that should have been a movie? Very much no, because I am not, in general, don't want romance books to be movies, because to me, it just, the medium is not,
there's nothing else
conducive to it.
It's, the book works. The book is
more. The book is more than
there's nothing the movie can add.
Exactly. So there's nothing a movie can add to most romance books, because romance books give you more than you typically get in real life out of a relationship. So, so you get way more depth with that often. So this is why it's a problem. But that's also 50 Shades of Grey was almost adapted out of just like, oh, it's that popular, now we have to. Because we do get to that point where if a book is popular enough, they're like, well, now we have to make a movie out of it.
I hate that. It's okay to leave it as the book. If the book is popular, encourage people to read it. Don't make a movie.
I am more likely to read that book than to watch the movie. I'm telling you, I will never watch the movie. I have no interest in ever watching the movie. I have occasionally been curious about what could be so compelling about this book that everybody loves it that much. I might read it at some point as like a joke, or just like if the curiosity really gets the better of me. I'm not anywhere close to that now, but I could see reading it at some point because
it's a book.
Because it's a book, exactly. Would I want to watch the movie? No, because I know that if I'm going to learn this story, there is nothing that movie can offer me that the book does not. Right. So if you have to add things or take things away, significant things, then it doesn't need to be a movie.
Just write your own. That's just you taking inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
Yep.
But don't copy
someone
else's work.
No copycats.
Don't do that.
If you want to write a screenplay of your own book, though, totally in favor of that. You can explore that in a different way. I've been working on that for that one of my books. It's my mom's favorite book that I've ever written. She got a tattoo for it. Like, I truly do think, and I don't know where the idea for the story came from. Like, I don't know where the inspiration came from. It felt like God just planted it in my brain. And I never say that.
Write this.
Yeah. And I never say that because I do not believe that, this is totally my own like personal opinions, but I don't believe that God typically pushes people into doing things. I think we all just have opportunities, and sometimes he'll put them opportunities there for you. But this was one I was like, I truly have no idea where this came from, because I do not write in this genre. I have never since written in this genre. I never before wrote in this genre. I don't even read this genre. I have no interest in this genre. But for some reason, somehow I sat down and in like 2 weeks, I wrote this book. And I think there's a lot of like, it's like the most theme heavy probably book I've ever written, like where you can definitely follow the theme. It's very like artful in a lot of ways. It would be a great movie. So, and we're just I'm just going to go ahead and work on the screenplay basically for it.
Interesting.
And if it's something that as a movie could be successful right away, as a book, I think would only be successful if I already had a really big following as an author. So that's kind of a thing too. If you're writing something and you're like, this would be a great movie, write the screenplay. You never know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. If you get big as an author person, you can publish the book and then turn it into a screenplay. Then you already have the screenplay. You're good to go. If you're like, this is never going to get published as a book, or I'm just not making it as an author, I want to try my hand at turning this into a movie, then you already have the screenplay. So go for it. Plus, you might find you really like writing screenplays. It is a very different experience. But if you are a dialogue heavy person, and I'm a very dialogue heavy person, we all know this, then screenplays are great, because I know a lot of movies aren't, so this is generalizing. The movies I like are dialogue heavy and dialogue driven. So the really artsy movies that are just like scenes and music and light changes, not so much my jam. I know they're supposed to be really artsy, not really my jam. I'm not highbrow enough, I don't think, for it, but anyways. I think dialogue heavy stuff is also easier to adapt.
Yeah.
if you're going to take lines directly out of it. And I think that you should.
Because that's obviously translatable easily because you can take direct lines.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Do we have anything else we want to say about book to movie to TV adaptations?
I guess my one takeaway is, given this whole conversation, if you are writing a book, you should be utilizing that medium as best as you can. Like, I guess in a weird way, you should be writing a book that would be very difficult to turn into a movie, because that means you're in the right medium. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
You should be utilizing like the sentence structures and the things that are revealed. Like, I was thinking about this, it's very easy to hide things in writing that you can't hide in movies, because you can write specifically to detract attention. So like in a movie, it's easier to plant something in the background because it inherently doesn't have to get noticed. But in a book, it's easier to maybe just phrase things just right so that readers don't see something coming. So, I mean, if you're doing some kind of a plot twist type of thing, one of those formats may be better or worse for that kind of plot twist. So if you are writing a book, I think you should try almost as best as you can to make it very difficult to turn into a movie, because then that means it does really belong as a book, and it is doing something unique as a book. And so like you said, if it is more conducive to being a movie, try your hand at screenwriting.
Try your hand at it. And you never know. I mean, Shadow and Bone is an amazingly artful book, in my opinion, and it turned into a great show. And that's just where, if you hit the perfect sweet spot. But I think I don't think that Leigh Bardugo wrote this book with the intention of it becoming a movie. Like Carissa's saying, like, if you're writing a book, you should ideally be writing it because you want it to be a really great book. And so your focus is on making it amazing as a book with all of the strengths that a book typically has. And then if you get the opportunity to turn it into a movie, whether that's adapting into a screenplay or working with someone to adapt it into a screenplay, then that's awesome. You can go from there. You can do, Leigh Bardugo was very involved and it turned out excellently. And they pulled specific stuff from the book, and you can still do that, but you can't adapt directly. So she still made changes. They still made changes and tied in characters in a story that wasn't even a part of that story or even of their own other story. They totally just like, that was a total spinoff, totally different, but they did it with the author. So it was okay. But I don't think she wrote the book intending with the intention this will be a movie. So I think if you have that, if you're like, I'm going to write this book so it'll be a movie, maybe not the right approach. That's when you write a screenplay instead, because that's clearly where your head's at, and that's fine. Screenplays are great. I don't have much personal advice for how to get those seen because I do not query screenplays, zero knowledge of it. But if you're just intent on your book, your story being a movie, then screenplays are where you want to go. If you're like, this will be a great book or a great movie, but a great book. There you go.
And you can daydream about, the movie thing. That's totally fine if that keeps you going when it's tough, or if you just enjoy doing that. But that shouldn't be your motivation, because that's not enough to make it a good story.
I daydream about all of my books, even the ones that would be really impossible to adapt into movies. I daydream about all of them as movies. But it's your motivation, basically. If your motivation is to make a movie, then write a screenplay. Do it, because that's what a movie would be. If your motivation is to tell an amazing story and you don't care if it's book or movie form, maybe go for book first. See how it works out. A really, really amazing story, there will be a way to adapt it into a movie or TV if it comes to it. I think some things could be adapted in very different ways. Some things you might only take the theme and say inspired by, which I think is better.
I wish we did that more often.
I wish we did that more.
Have the expectations where they are.
I think every kind of theme can be adapted in some way or other to movies or TV, but the strategies differ widely. I don't think you can always just copy and paste. And so just keep that in mind. But let's get some more original stuff out there, Hollywood, please. Please.
Just try a little bit.
Please try a little bit. I'm okay with more book adaptations if they're like Shadow and Bone, like you picked it because the story is just, you just have like the perfect vision for how to adapt it. And it's not going to be an exact copycat. Like, exactly. And there's so much world. I really think you do for a series, it needs to be anything more than a short series needs to be a very developed world, which is why Eye of the World series, that one by Robert Jordan, I think his name is.
Yeah.
That world is extremely extensive. And you can tell when you watch the show, you're like, this was a good one to adapt. Because however you feel about the characters, and I think they did well with the characters, that world has so much potential. So you can even pull things in and it makes sense. If there's more in there than there is in the book, you're like, well, duh, it's a whole world. So it would be.
And that is what like TV shows and movies are, is they take so many opinions of so many different people to see how many pathways the story can go down.
Yeah.
Whereas books, obviously you do have editors and all, beta readers and everyone helping you, but it is fundamentally the same story. They don't get input on the way that it goes in the same way that movie creators and TV show creators do. So if there are people with different opinions about, a different plot line they want to do or whatever, that's where TV shows really shine, because you can do that and still make it work in that world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about book to movie to TV adaptations?
No, I don't think so. What about you?
Either. Nope.
Okay.
Nothing else for me. Well, sorry, you're what?
No, I'm just like a floating head on this video, and I don't know how many people are watching it, but I'm just like a floating head. Anyway. Go on.
I was gonna say, how's writing going for you?
It's good. I finished up my edit of the book I wrote in 6 days.
Oh, that's right. You sent it to me. I haven't opened it yet because I was gonna open it today, and then I was like, wait, I have to do like my job. Gross.
Yeah. I understand that comes first. But I'm excited about it, and I'm definitely committing to giving it at least a month where I'm not touching it. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to edit anything. I'm just going to let it sit.
Smart. I'm so bad about that. That is such a good idea.
I mean, I kind of got to a point where I felt good about it. Like I fixed all the things that had immediately cropped up. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm going to let it sit. So in the meantime, because I am watching the Olympics and because there's figure skating and I have that series where the main character is going to be a figure skater, I've been kind of working on the world building for it. And it's very fun, but I'm also finding it's really hard. And, I'm all like, I'm the queen of world building, but it is really hard to create your second world because all of my initial likes and assumptions and world building went into my initial world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I'm like trying to figure out how to make this one different, but it's hard because I'm the same person. So I think I have something really cool and I'm very excited about it, but it took a lot of work and a lot of telling myself, no, you can't do that because you already did that. And I want to make it different. So I've been doing a lot of world building. So very rough, but I'm excited about it.
I'm exciting. You are exciting.
I'm exciting about it.
You're so exciting. I did a lot of world building too. Yeah. I keep going back and looking at the notes that I took when we did our episode on magic systems, because a lot of that was world building stuff. Yes. So I keep going back and looking at my notes and making changes. And cool. It's exciting. I haven't made nearly as much progress as you have, but slow and steady apparently is my new thing. That was not my thing before, but
it's a good thing.
Apparently that's my jam now. I think it's because I'm also reading and at the same time as writing. So my only option is slow and steady. I can't just hammer through it like I usually would. Because I used to also just be like, I'm taking a reading break now. I'm done reading for a while.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Now you have a podcast.
Now I have a podcast. No, I'm locked into this commitment to read a book a week.
Yep.
And doing that, I just don't know how people like you read like 100 books a year.
Because I do it in batches. I do it like 10 books at a time, and then I don't read for 2 weeks. That's
I feel like it is just maxing me out to read a whole book a week and then get anything else done in my life. But maybe if I didn't have to have another full-time job, maybe someday.
Yeah. And you're like married and stuff. So like you have, hobby and
oh yeah, I am, aren't I? I guess I have to spend some time with him sometimes too.
Yeah.
He's been in charge of dinner. I told him I needed him to take care of dinner twice a week because there's just too many things for me to do at this point. So he's usually on the night when we record is when I put him in charge of dinner. But so far, because he said he wanted to learn to cook, and so I'm thinking he'll start cooking on these nights. So far, that has not been the case. He brought pizza the one time. Apparently, we're going to go get Taco Bell after this. Nice. So I should have been more specific, but I also love junk food. And so it's hard for me to go back and rewrite those rules now because I'm like
loving this.
Taco Bell sounds great. So yeah. And I'm trying to be healthy again. because I'm always really unhealthy over the holidays. And then I have to like really get back on track, and it's really hard. And I also, when I get hungry, I don't know what happens. I don't know if it's hormones or what, but something changes in me. And I'm just like, I'm so depressed. Like, it's so sad.
Not the way I thought we were going with that.
I know. I started to get crazy. And well, yeah, I vacillate wildly between I'm just angry at like the drop of a pin for no reason at all. And then I'm like just so depressed. And some of that is just like because I have crazy hormones and I have to like tamp it down. And I can usually just be like, oh, Ash, stop feeling crazy and just try and move on till I feel better.
Right.
Except when I'm hungry. When I'm hungry is when none of my coping mechanisms work. So today was difficult because I was hungry because I started eating healthy again. So, but my body is like, I don't want oats. I don't want vegetables. I want like heavy food that makes me feel full. And I'm like, you've had enough. Like, this is a good amount of calories and nutrition. I'm not starving you. And my body is like, no more cucumbers, French fries. And I'm like, shut up, you're well fed. And it's like, we're dying. Aww. So then my brain is like, what if we are dying? Like, right? We're definitely not. This is good for us. And my brain is like, pretty sure we're dying right now. So I'm just gonna let you simmer on that thought.
Just dwell on that for a while.
Just dwell on that, which has nothing to do with writing, but is in itself just a big thing to try and take on every time I try and get back to eating healthy. I feel like it is another part-time job that I'm doing.
It just takes up so much of your energy.
It does. It takes up so much energy, so much brain space. I have to like specifically buy groceries that are not only healthy, but are healthy that I'll also eat or prepare. I washed and like canned a bunch of fruits today because if you put the fruit in the jars, it turns out they last so much longer. So I have no excuse to not eat them because they've gone bad because they don't ever go bad. Yeah. So I've been doing that lately because I hate wasting food. And then I also made like, so then you have to prep food, and I prepped a bunch of like egg cups in the oven. And like, it's just so much work. I have to work out before work in the morning. Why is it so hard? Anyways, so that's
sometimes.
I think it's whenever I get
your
back
writing update.
That it kind of is my writing update because I can't do a million things at once. Yeah. Only like 500,000 things. So until I get back to being like in a routine of healthy choices, it's going to be hard for me to continue writing consistently because I fell off the wagon and now I have to get back on, and I can't get back on all the wagons at once. So yeah, probably first is eating healthy and exercising wagon, and then is writing consistently wagon.
That seems fair.
Although I'm back on the writing sporadically wagon, which I wasn't even on that wagon until like last month. So
take it one wagon at a time. Ash.
One wagon at a time. Exactly. So that's my wagon update.
Cool.
Yep. Anything else that you want to share with peeps, with the writing group?
No, just world building is hard, but it's even harder the second time around. So be prepared for that.
We are full of encouragement. Let me make one suggestion. Everybody, before you sit down to work on your world building, your screen adaptations, or whatever else it is, go get a snack first. Don't do it hungry. Don't do it hungry.
Yes. Good advice.
Nothing is worth that. Oh man. Well, if you guys just love us so much that you can't stand going a whole week without us, we have great news for you. Carissa releases minisodes. Wow. I am
Minnesota, but an episode.
Yeah. I've been doing this thing lately where I suddenly sound really, really Southern. Like I said, out here or her the other day instead of out here, and I didn't even hear it, and I still have a hard time thinking I ever said that. But Javi was like, honest to God, like, what did you just say? And I was like, I said out here, and he's like, no, you didn't.
So, no, you did not.
So no idea what's going on. But anyways, I lost my train of thought because I was suddenly like, why can't I speak anymore? Minisodes. That's what it was. So Catherine, aka Carissa, Catherine is her scary alter ego, if you didn't know, if you're super new to the pod. She's releasing minisodes. Frick, I did it again. Minisodes. Why is that so hard? Once a week on books, and she pick a new book each week and talks about it from a writer's perspective, and they're super fun. And also her voice is so soothing to listen to. It's so nice because I go back and I listen just like to edit really briefly, and you're always like, Hello and welcome back. I'm Carissa Harlow, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like amazing.
Nice.
This is like satin. So whether you want to like some more writing chit chat during the week, or you're just like, I could really use some soothing listening, you got to go listen to her minisodes, because they are excellent minisodes. And you can also follow us on the social media. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Instagram is fun writing tips just to keep you motivated throughout the week. TikTok is funny writing videos we can all relate to. You posted one. Obviously, Carissa does all of our social media because she's the only face on there pretty much. But you posted something about, and I don't know how I just saw it. Sometimes I see things out of order because I'm bad at keeping up with social media.
And TikTok is weird. It like doesn't show everything.
Yeah,
to everyone, so
it's been like 0 views on all of my stuff. So I'm like, so no one is, for some reason, it's not showing anyone any of my videos, which is fine, I guess, but it's so weird. Anyways, you did one about like basically rejection apathy, which we did an episode on. And I was like, oh God, it's real. So I promise you, if you're a writer, you can relate to our Scriptorian Society TikTok. So that's the Scriptorian Society. If there's something you guys specifically want to hear us talk about on an episode, you can email us at contact@storysirensstudio.com. That is our production company. Or you can DM us on social media. We will see it. We will reply. We want to talk about what you want to talk about. And on that note, you can even join our writing group on Patreon. Again, it's Story Sirens Studio because it is our production company. But if you guys want, you can support us there, or you can join the writing group for free. Once again, that is for free. You do not have to sign up for a tier to join the writing group. No money. We can talk about writing all you want. We can work on our little stuff together, whatever. We can rant about how much we hate remakes all together for free.
I am down for that anytime.
So go check out the Story Siren Studio Patreon, and you can even visit storysirenstudio.com if you want to go check out our merch, go learn a little more about us, whatever you want. And if you have enjoyed this episode or any other episode or any part of any episode we have ever done, please go down there and give us a 5-star rating if you wouldn't super mind. As long as you don't super mind. But if you only super mind, you still have to do it. That seems fair. I think it seems fair as well. But anyways, so go do that, you guys, because then we know you listen. It's fun to know that you guys are listening and liking it. Or if you hate us and you want us to change what we're doing, you can also DM us and email us. This is a writing group, so we want to do what you guys want to do. I think that's all of my stuff.
Cool. Did you like all of my just totally useless interjected yas?
I love all of your interjected yas. It makes me feel I appreciate it, because otherwise I'm just like talking to myself about all the boring business stuff of podcasting. So you're like, what she said, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome, this is fun, and everyone else is like, wrap up the podcast now.
We're like gonna break into song, and you guys are like, we are done, goodbye.
Like, could you end the episode, please? On that note, I guess we will end the episode for you guys. Thank you for joining us as always. We will be back next week with your normal episode. On Mondays, you can check out Catherine's minisodes. And until then, everybody, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.